You're standing in the ruins of what used to be a city. The skyline is a jagged silhouette of broken concrete and twisted metal. The air tastes like rust and ash, and you're thirsty. So thirsty your lips have cracked open and your tongue feels like leather against the roof of your mouth. You find water, finally, pooled in the shadow of a collapsed overpass. It's brown. It smells like decay. But you're desperate. You drink it anyway. 3 days later, you're doubled over in agony. Your insides turning to liquid, your body rejecting every ounce of fluid you force down. You're dying. And the irony is you're dying of thirst while your guts are flooded with poison. This is how most people die after the collapse. Not from violence, not from starvation, from water, from the invisible killers swimming in every puddle, every stream, every rainwater barrel. But there's a secret the old world knew. A secret written in the bones of every animal that ever lived. And if you know how to read it, those bones become the difference between dying in a ditch and surviving long enough to see another dawn. The world after collapse is a graveyard. Everywhere you look there are remnants, shattered glass, burnt-out cars, and bones. So many bones. Deer skeletons picked clean by scavengers. Cattle remains from abandoned farms. Even human bones scattered in places people don't talk about. Most survivors walk right past them. They're looking for food, for weapons, for fuel. They think bones are worthless, dead weight. But you know better. Because bones aren't just calcium. They're not just structure. They're chemistry. They're a weapon against the invisible war happening in every drop of water you touch. You start collecting them, femurs, ribs, skulls, anything you can carry. Other survivors think you've lost your mind. They mock you. They call you the bone collector. Let them. They'll be dead in a month. You'll still be standing. Here's the problem. Water in a collapsed world is a nightmare. The treatment plants are offline. The infrastructure is shattered. Every source is contaminated with bacteria, parasites, heavy metals, and chemical runoff from burning cities. Boiling kills bacteria, sure, but it doesn't remove toxins. It doesn't neutralize acid. It doesn't pull out the lead and mercury that leached from industrial zones into the groundwater. You need more than heat. You need chemistry. You need a filter that can physically trap particles, neutralize pH, and bind to contaminants at a molecular level. And the only way to build that in a world of ash and rubble is to understand what bones actually are. Because bones are calcium carbonate and calcium phosphate. They're alkaline, they're porous. And when processed correctly, they become one of the most effective primitive water purification systems ever used by human beings. Let me take you into the science. Calcium carbonate. The chemical formula is CaCO₃. It's the same compound in limestone, in chalk, in seashells, and in the skeletal structure of every vertebrate animal on the planet. When you burn bone at high temperatures, above 700 degrees Celsius, the organic material, the collagen, the marrow, it all incinerates. What's left is a white, brittle structure called bone char. This isn't ash, this is calcined bone. And it has 3 properties that make it invaluable. First, it's highly porous. Under magnification, bone char looks like a sponge, riddled with microscopic cavities that trap particles and bacteria as water passes through. Second, it's alkaline. It raises the pH of acidic water, neutralizing the bite of contamination. Third, and this is the critical part, calcium carbonate has an affinity for heavy metals and organic toxins. It absorbs them. That means molecules of lead, arsenic, fluoride, and other poisons bind to the surface of the bone char and stay there while clean water passes through. This is the same principle industrial water treatment plants used for decades before the collapse. You're not inventing something new. You're remembering something old. Here's how you do it. You take your collected bones, you build a fire, a hot one, using hardwood or coal if you can scavenge it. You need sustained heat, not just flames. You pile the bones into a metal drum or a pit lined with stones and you let them burn. Not for minutes, for hours. You're not cooking them, you're calcining them. The bones will turn black first as the organic material chars, then gray, then pure white as the carbon burns away, and the calcium structure remains. When they're cool enough to handle, you crush them. Use a rock, a hammer, whatever you have. Grind them into pieces the size of gravel, not powder. You need chunks with surface area. Now you need a container. A plastic bottle with the bottom cut off works. An old pipe, anything cylindrical. You layer it. First, cloth or grass at the bottom to hold everything in place. Then a layer of sand. Then your crushed bone char, packed tight. Then more sand. Then gravel on top to slow the water flow. You've just built a bone char filter. Now the test. You pour your contaminated water through slowly. Gravity does the work. The sand catches sediment. The bone char traps bacteria, neutralizes acid, and pulls out metals. What comes out the other end isn't perfectly sterile, but its magnitude's cleaner than what went in. You can boil it after for redundancy, and now you have water that won't kill you. Water you can drink. Water that lets you survive another day. But here's where most people fail. They build the filter once and think they're done. Bone char saturates. After filtering 20, maybe 30 liters, the pores are clogged with the contaminants it absorbed. The calcium carbonate binding sites are full. If you keep using it, you're just pouring dirty water through dirty bones. You have to regenerate it. You remove the bone char, burn it again at high heat to incinerate the trapped organic matter. Let it cool and reload the filter. This is the cycle. Collect, burn, filter, regenerate. It's labor. It's constant. But it's the labor that keeps you alive. Let's talk about what happens if you don't do this. If you drink untreated water in a collapse scenario, you're gambling with cholera, dysentery, giardia, cryptosporidium, and a dozen other pathogens that turn your digestive system into a war zone. Dehydration from diarrhea kills you faster than thirst alone. Your body sheds water faster than you can replace it. Your organs shut down. Your brain swells. You slip into shock. And the worst part? You die surrounded by water, drowning on dry land. That's the fate of the survivors who ignore chemistry. Who think survival is just toughness and willpower. Survival is knowledge. Survival is understanding that the bones scattered across the wasteland are not garbage. They're tools. They're medicine. They're the difference between you and the corpses rotting in the ruins. Here's what the bone collectors understand that nobody else does. The old world ran on complexity, on supply chains and specialists and infrastructure. When that complexity collapsed, most people collapsed with it. They didn't know how to make anything. How to purify anything, how to transform raw materials into solutions. But bones? Bones are everywhere. Animals die. People die. The raw material for survival is literally lying in the dirt, waiting for someone smart enough to see it. Calcium carbonate didn't stop being useful when the factories shut down. Fire didn't stop being hot. Chemistry didn't stop working. The principles that kept ancient civilizations alive for thousands of years, they're still here. Still true. Still waiting for you to remember them. The survivors who make it aren't the strongest. They're not the most armed. They're the ones who understand that the world is made of elements and compounds and reactions. And if you know how to manipulate them, you can turn death into life. So you walk through the ruins now with different eyes. You see a deer carcass and you don't see rot. You see calcium carbonate. You see a filtration system. You see another week of clean water. You see survival. Other scavengers are still fighting over canned food and gasoline, resources that run out, that spoil, that disappear. But you? You're building systems. You're collecting bones. You're remembering the chemistry the world forgot. And when the desperate ones come to you, sick and dying from the water they drank, you'll have a choice. You can teach them. You can show them how to burn bones and build filters and reclaim the science that separates humans from animals. Or you can let them die and collect their bones too. Because in the end, the world after collapse doesn't care about your morals. It only cares about one thing. Do you understand chemistry? Or don't you? The bone collectors survive. Everyone else becomes bones. That's not cruelty. That's calcium carbonate. That's the hidden chemistry written in every skeleton since the dawn of time. And now you know it too.